Hello, Dave here with emergencyprepguy.com. I appreciate you stopping by. It's not that early. It's, I don't know, 10-15 minutes after 8 in the morning. Sun's still kind of coming out from behind some of the early morning clouds. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day though. I wanted to get out and I wanted to show you how well my Mittleider garden is doing. I don't claim to be a gardening expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I have grown, quite a few gardens over the years, but I've never had one do anywhere near as good as this Mittleider garden. I'm just very, very excited about it. So let's go take a look. Okay, let's start out here in the greenhouse. You can see I'm filling up the watering system that I have out here because I don't have water run from the house out to the greenhouse. These 3 barrels, I designed this system hoping that I would have enough water in here to where I would only have to fill it up about once a week. And it's actually gonna, at least in the wintertime, it's gonna be longer than that, which is when I care about the most. Because during the hot of the summer with all the plants as big as they are, these barrels are still lasting 4 or 5 days. As you can see how I have some of them thinned out really good. This one's kind of a jumbly mess. I should thin that out a little bit more than I have it. But you can see I've got cucumbers in there. We've picked a whole bunch of cucumbers off of this already. There's another cucumber, looks like, starting down there. Gotten some really big ones. So here, as you can see, this plant here is zucchini squash. There's a few zucchinis. That one's getting pretty good size down there. Haven't picked any zucchini yet, so that'll be the first of the zucchini. You can see, I forget off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank what they call this type of squash, but I planted a lot of it. This type of squash is supposed to store really good in the winter, so that's why I planted so much of that. Real quick over here before we leave, we've had a lot of strawberries. These strawberry plants I planted this spring, and when I bought the starts from the nursery, and they told me, yeah, you won't get any strawberries this year. But we've had a ton of strawberries, way more than, probably not near what we'll have next year, but we had quite a few, and my grandkids have really had fun picking them and eating them. So those are doing really good. Here we got some beets that are doing amazing. You can see I got some peppers growing right next to the beets, maybe a little too close to the beets, but you look down in there, you can see, man, we got some big beets growing. Looks like I need to start harvesting some of them so some of the others can finish growing. But over here, the tomatoes are doing really, really well. We've had like 4 or 5 big harvests of tomatoes already. Got some really big beefsteak tomatoes growing there. We've got some of the little yellow tomatoes there. We had a ton of them that were ripe yesterday. My wife has picked them all already again. And these are the Roma tomatoes. You can see a few of them down there. That's not a climbing type, so that's why it stayed short. A bunch of cherry tomatoes back there, both red and I don't know if you can see back there some of those yellow ones. So anyway, I've grown garden. I don't claim to be a expert gardener, but I've grown a garden quite a few years in my married life, quite a few of the years that we've been married, and I've never had the type of production that I'm having here with the Mittleider system. My beets always did pretty good, but they're doing a lot better. Peppers are doing way better. One thing that's always kind of been my weakness has been things like cucumbers and cantaloupe, and it's totally solved that problem. Like I said, we've harvested a ton of cucumbers. We've been eating a lot of salad. So I'll take you out here and we'll show you the garden. Now, you'll want to excuse the weeds in the aisles. If you watched an earlier video, I have an organic solution that just kills them fast, and I'm a little overdue on using it again. If you are looking for an organic system, check back on my YouTube or my Rumble or my Odyssey channels, and you'll see that I did a video and I showed that. And when I spray it, it's like literally within 2 hours, the weeds are completely dead. And it lasts 3 or 4 weeks. It's organic, so it's not like the poison that actually makes the ground poison, so they don't grow back. So they do start growing back, and it's time I need to hit it again. So ignore that. If you're interested in a really good organic that isn't going to put toxins in your garden, I recommend, like I said, going to one of my channels and looking for that video. I'll put a link to that below this video in the description as well. So here we've got some beans. You can see these green beans growing, or I can't remember what variety of beans those are. I'll have to look on my diagram. But we've got several different varieties of beans growing here, and the harvest has been pretty good on those. And then here we've got the squash coming. Let's see over here if I can find some. We've been staying on top. Yeah, here's one of those type of squash that I couldn't remember the name of that lasts really good during the winter. I'm excited about those. And there's another one over here. And so those are going really good. So as you can see, the tomato plants are doing really, really well. And we've had, see, these are cherry tomatoes over here. We've had, like I said, about 4 or 5 really big harvests off of all the tomato plants so far. My corn, now those T-frames are 8 feet tall. I've never had corn that tall before in my life. And one other really interesting thing, I don't know if you can see, but we've got ample pollinators. If you can see those honeybees that are there fertilizing the corn. Anyway, I don't know how well you can see those guys, but this garden is not short with having our own hive of bees. We're not short of good pollination. Even in the greenhouse, I see them in the greenhouse a lot. So that's our corn. It's doing really good. You can see some of the ears. They're not ready to harvest yet, but they're growing pretty amazing. Now these beets, I mean, got eaten by, yeah, I'm embarrassed. I should have sprayed all of these before I filmed this video, because if I'd have sprayed them a couple hours ago, you wouldn't see any of this. they would be all dead. You wouldn't even be able to see them. That's how fast that stuff works. But anyway, these beets, you can see I had a pest problem that was eating them. I'd catch some grasshoppers in here and a couple other bugs eating them. But they still did fine. They're growing up good. The beets down there, as you can see, I don't know how well you can see that, but there are going to be some massive beets in there. These onions, half of these are red, half of them are white. We're going to have a lot of big onions. I've trimmed the tops off a couple of times already, and they just keep growing back. So you can see over here is the potatoes. It's a whole row of red potatoes, and you can see, especially down there in the end, it's not going to be too much longer. They're going to all fall over and die, and I'm going to have to cut them off and lay them on top of the potatoes to let the potatoes cure before I harvest them. And down here at the end, you can see I've got a bunch of peppers, and it looks like we got some that are needing to be harvested down here. Got some really some big ones here, big ones down in there. So the things I've always struggled to have success growing, this little bush down here is jalapeno peppers, and there are a lot of them. I've never done good, especially with the short growing season here in eastern Idaho. I've never done good with peppers. I've never done that good with cucumbers. I've always done really good on squash, but I've never done good, not as good as I'm doing now. I mean, this squash dwarfs anything that I've ever done. But cucumbers, cantaloupe. Never tried watermelon before. Like I said, those got picked, so I'll have to try it next year. But peppers and cucumbers and cantaloupe, I've never done very good at. Oh, by the way, before I show you the cantaloupe and some more cucumbers, this was a whole row of bush, I think they were snap peas if I remember right. And boy, were they good. We got like 3 big bountiful harvests and had to shuck all the peas and vacuum seal them, and eventually we'll get them in the freeze dryer. But anyway, so we had a bunch of those. But those are really good. The vines, as well as any pods that are left over on them, the rabbits just love. And I've got a batch of rabbit babies that I'm trying to get to size, so I've been supplementing their feed with things from the garden. And one of the things I've just been cutting a little bit every day to give them is these peas. That's why they're almost gone now. So but we harvest all we waited till after the harvests were pretty much done before we started feeding them to the rabbits, obviously. So again, look at that amazing corn. Holy cow. Then here, I have tried cantaloupe before. I've never had cantaloupe. Look, there's another one down there starting. I've never had cantaloupe grow before. I'm just in total amazement at that. Some of you guys that have grown cantaloupe, maybe you're not as impressed, but I've tried it many seasons and just never had any fruit that I just never had good luck with it. There's another big cucumber there. You can see there's another cucumber there. Cucumber's the other one that I've always had trouble with. I got so many cucumbers, I don't know what to do with them. We've been having tons of salads, man. And anyway, here's some more cucumber there coming. My wife's been out and picked. So these are just the ones that aren't big enough to harvest yet. So now I want to show you these raspberries. I planted them there 2 seasons ago, and the first season they were just more working on their roots and they didn't really grow very tall. So they started out this summer really short. I didn't know how good they'd do or how much fruit we would get off of it, so I didn't trellis them or anything. But I'm gonna have to trellis them from now on because, as you can see, they got really big, and there's been a surprising amount of raspberries. My grandkids have had a ball out here. Look, we got a branch that died for some reason. But anyway, I haven't put the Mittleider garden feed on the raspberries. I started the season with it, and I've done it a couple of times, but not weekly like you do with the garden. And they're just growing. The potatoes are kind of falling down over them and knocking them over, so I may have to move those raspberries eventually. My wife didn't want me to move them, but they're too close. Anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So anyway, that's the garden. Okay, it's a few days later, and I got out here yesterday and sprayed that organic solution that I was excited about, that I mentioned earlier in the video, that kills these weeds, and it's not toxic to your garden. But let me show you how well it kills these plants. If you see any weeds that didn't die, it just means I either didn't coat it very good or I missed it completely. So this was a big blanket of weeds. You can see they're all dead. Looks like I didn't get that grass very good. That's one I pulled out of the bed. But anyway, you can see all these were weeds that I sprayed that are dead. There was a bunch of weeds all down that row. Again, down this row, if you can see all those weeds that are dead. You can't even hardly see them because they blend in with the bark. So now if you get down in here, there's more weeds. There was just a ton of weeds up here in this row, and even more over there in that row. And what'll happen, I shouldn't have let them get this tall before I sprayed them. But basically the weeds, they tend to break up, and then after a few days you can't even see them. They just especially if you're walking on them, they just kind of blend in with the bark and die off. But again, a ton of weeds there. See how good that kills them all? So it's a really slick little organic way to it kills weeds instantly, and I'm just super excited about it. I'll put a link to the Mittleider garden book below this video. Okay, well, I hope that was interesting. I appreciate you guys watching the video all the way to the end. Just in case somebody's interested in the Mittleider garden book okay, so thanks so much. So I appreciate you watching the video, like I said, and don't forget to just in case anybody is interested in learning more about the Mittleider garden method or giving it a try. Great, now we got a plane going by. Okay, well, I hope that was interesting. I appreciate you watching the video all the way to the end. Just in case any of you guys are interested in learning more about the Mittleider garden method or want to try it yourself, I'll put a link below this video just so hopefully that's helpful. So again, thanks so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.